Prime Minister, thank you for the opportunity to have an interview with you. I would like to start with the economy of Curaçao. Recently, the Business Association, VVC, has mentioned the IMF and some of its conclusions, the island, especially about the economy. And they specifically mentioned red tape, that it's causing a problem for the economy. Can you give us your opinion on that?
Sure, it's a challenge, and certainly in these times that we have, let's say, a bit of a stalemate with regards to economic growth. We do have potential, and we can talk about that. We have growth in one sector, which is tourism, but the government has to be more responsive and more facilitating. So in a way, it's changing procedures and processes, let's say automation and so on, and we have a committee that is presided by someone from the private sector working on this. We already made some changes. For example, we have a central point of contact, let's say one window, working with the back office for all economic permits. So we centralized it in one location, and you have one stop shop with regards to the intake and also where the permit is eventually given.
So you're just saying that the government is already working on it?
Yes, but we're going further because, of course, transformation of business processes, etc., within the government will take time because we do have to eliminate some procedures, and some of it might require change of law. We need to integrate the processes better in the back office so that the investor doesn't have to go to each ministry separately, but can go to one location and have the process being done in an integrated fashion without the involvement of the investor, and they can follow the process online. There is where we want to go. It will be like a self-service, and they can see how the petition is going through the stages online. But in the meantime, we need growth. So what we did is that we have an investment team consisting of different disciplines, and they report also to subcommittee of the Council of Ministers. The most relevant, my person is chairing it together with Minister of Finance, Minister of Urban Planning, Minister of Economic Development, so that where needed we can make the decisions or give feedback so that the process can be quicker, and this has yielded results. We have seen it with different projects, for example, in the hotel sector, the Corendon hotel, which is now being constructed. We also have some other hotels in the pipeline, Marriott Courtyard, a development at Kop van Schaarlo here in the harbor, which we get, let's say, regular briefings, and where necessary, we need to take the decisions so it can move faster along. So that has been working, but now we have to make it a more permanent, sustainable process.
So basically you say that we can be hopeful, the economy and the process for investors?
Most certainly, most certainly. And we are hopeful because we already see the results with regards to the hospitality sector, hotels and so on. We now see more construction also with regards to residence, projects, houses, for different groups, even, for example, people that are with pension. We have a graying society, but there's also a demand for tourists that want to enjoy in a bungalow and so on. So we have those projects, but also in the logistics sector, we have CPA working with Port of Rotterdam to develop Bullenbay, which is rather greenfield. We have an oil terminal there, but it's a government property that is destined for industrial development, and now we're working. We have a vision document. We're working now on a master plan together with Port of Rotterdam to not only develop, but bring in the business. The refinery is the biggest one on the block.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the refinery. Yes.
That one, of course. Our pathway is, first of all, make sure there is continuity, because it's more or less 10% of our economy. It's 3,000 to 4,000 employees that are dependent on the refinery directly and indirectly. So it affects more or less 12,000 families.
Yes.
In that respect, we need to find a solution for the continuity, and we have a team working on that actually was contacted by, let's say, there's interest along 50 plus companies, and the next week they are starting the first round of conversations, and there are some interesting candidates in there. Probably what we will need is a short-term and a longer-term solution. It can be both. But in any case, we are encouraged that there's interest, and certainly because we don't only have the refinery, which is able to produce between 200 and 300 barrels a day, but also different kind of products, but in combination with the storage capacity and the oil terminal. So that is what Curaçao has able to offer, and I can say that some of the conversations that I entertained, this is what makes it interesting, because we don't only have the refining capacity, but also the storage and the redistribution capacity for the Caribbean region. So we are encouraged by the team. They're working aggressively, and hopefully by mid this year, we have a partner which we will engage in more thorough negotiations.
But the time is short. I mean, it's by the end of this year that the contract with PDVSA expires. Do you think we're going to make it?
Well, the time is very short. I think we can make it. It's a realistic planning, but we do need to engage with a serious candidate within the next few months. What makes it challenging is the situation with PDVSA itself. As we know, it has affected our refinery in the sense that the financial obligations that are not being met, sanctions, but also liens that are put by creditors has affected production. So last year we haven't seen much production in the refinery, and that has a ripple effect for, let's say, harbor activities. Yes. With almost no movement of ships coming in. Nevertheless, we are working with the current management of the refinery to see how we can cope in between now until we have a short-term solution in place.
But you say that there's not a lot of activities in the harbor, but when we look at, for example, Damen, and I know you were very close to that, yes, but we still see they don't even have place to put all the ships that are coming in. Do you have any information about that? What's going on with the company? Is it progressing?
Yes. Well, coming back to my comment, it has to do with refinery or oil-related activities. So let's say shipments that are bringing in oil to be stored and then redistributed or refined, and the products are being shipped out. Those have impacted, for example, our tugboat company. But you see that we don't have a lot of tankers coming in. With respect to the Damen shipyard, we have last year opened the C dock and the D dock. Yeah. The Curaçao and the Damen dock. So actually, in the first time in history, we have a full capacity of 4 docks, 2 floating docks, and it's full. It's full. So according to the business plan, I think that it's along the expectations, but also they are, and that was the aim, also servicing higher quality of clients. And in fact, recently they had the biggest, let's say, job or client in the history of the shipyard. So we are very encouraged by that. And Damen even has ambitions of bringing in new activity. For example, we're thinking down the road to be able to service, refurbish, and maintain cruise ships. But also they're looking to Bullenby, which I mentioned, yes, which will be a mixed-use development, not only oil-related, but for transshipment, for example, dry bulk, perhaps a container harbor, LNG terminal. But Damen is also looking at placing floating docks there, because this will be, let's say, the center of their logistic activities for ship repair, and also servicing their clients, because they're also shipbuilders. So their clients, just like you buy a car and you have a service agreement, they service their clients here in Curaçao. My dream is still maybe some assembly in the future, but that's future talk.
But you feel very accomplished, because, like I said, you were very close to that negotiation.
Yes, and it's been a good partnership. And actually, what I expected and hoped for is, with the establishment of Damen, it signaled that Curaçao is open for business. But secondly, Damen, of course, is a world-renowned ship repair company, and they have, for example, suppliers, clients that they work with, and that are now looking and establishing at Curaçao. We have one last year, a company called Alphatron, which produces communication and navigation equipment and technology for ships. Together, and well, their largest, the only shareholder is Japan Radio Company. So they came here, they opened a new office right here in our harbor, and Damen is their biggest client. So you see that the effect of bringing in a partner such as Damen brings in more business and gives more, let's say, fulfilling the potential and the reality that we can offer here in terms of maritime services.
So there is hope. There's not really. I mean, there are concerns, of course, but there's still positive side to the economy, and it's growing. Where do you think all this negativity comes from? That people are saying, "Hey, it's not going well," maybe because of the refinery. Where do you think it's coming from?
Well, I think it's two cents. One, I mentioned the biggest one on the block is the biggest concern for the whole community. It's what's going to happen with the refinery, because we're seeing no activity. In fact, from the indications we are getting, PDVSA, which is now operating the refinery, is preparing to shut down. They informed their employees that they can be able to pay salaries until June. So the indications are not encouraging. Other than that, we had several companies, including Insulair, that are closing down, losses of jobs. So that news, of course, creates more uncertainty. And I think when you are living in those uncertainties, or you are an employee who just lost a job, it's difficult to see the positives. Also, what you have is transition from perhaps an economy that has worked in the past, and sometimes it's difficult to see the new economy. What do I mean with this? Let me give you two examples. We've had a very successful free zone and economic zone. And one of the main, let's say, income generators and business for import and export was garments. And a lot of them relied on walk-in clients that came and purchased and took home goods or made purchases that are shipped out then. But now everybody is working based on e-commerce electronically. So you don't have visitors coming in. So you need to go with the time. Another thing that we have done in the free zone is to make sure, because we want to attract quality tenants, brands, top quality brands, you need to make sure that you have enforcement against, let's say, fake goods or
Fake brands.
Yes, exactly. So that has caused a transition for certain businesses, and we need to open for new businesses. But you have new developments that are unnoticed. One thing that the free zone has done, instead of focusing on the big warehouses, they went to incubators for startups at the airport. So they're focusing on smaller businesses that are export related and a whole new market. And so it's a transition. If you look at downtown, for example, which we have a rich tradition of quality shops in downtown Punda, for example. Nowadays, a downtown experience has to change. It's more entertainment, it's more leisure, it's more restaurants, it's music, bars, and not only shops. The shops will be there, but until that time that we agree on what the future development has to be for downtown, where we have more people living, working in downtown, so you have more people, and then you create a whole new environment which can sustain also retail, but other kinds of economic activities. And that transition is in progress because you have some tenants that are developing, let's say, apartments, you have Airbnb, you also have now more restaurants. A bar opened up recently.
Yes.
Have
you tried anything there?
I haven't tried it yet, but when I saw it, I said, this is what we need.
Yes.
Or for example, the Curaçao liqueur the genuine Curaçao liquor establishing in the Handelskade, this is what you need in your downtown. So if you have more businesses settling in downtown, more people living, hopefully more entrepreneurs, like we have in the Scarlo area where you have the shared work spaces, with the cafe next to it and so on. This is the vibe you need in Punda. And I'm borrowing this because Punda already has a Punda vibes.
Yeah.
So this is something that we need to make more permanent.
Okay.
And so transition means that some businesses will close and new ones will open. So if we focus too much on the businesses that close, we don't see the opportunities. And exactly what we want to do is change our mindset from nothing is happening to growth, from scarcity to abundance. And that's why we named our strategy for this as government, the growth strategy, is growth. And it's a strategy, so it's not a plan cast in stone. It's something that, and we are starting a process where the community can contribute with ideas, new entrepreneurs, young professionals, even students can build their future based on this growth mindset. And so Curaçao is in a transition, but I think the perspective and what we already have seeing that is happening right now certainly gives me a positive outlook with regards to our economy.
Thank you, Prime Minister.